report. Okay. Since we don't have a quorum, we only have two members and one of them is not in the room. We'll be approving the agenda or the meeting minutes. We'll just be proceeding with it without an approval. The meeting minutes will come back at the next meeting for approval. I only saw one thing on the non-member attendance. We had Michael Gilbert listed twice, so I don't know whether we just listed him twice or whether there was another name that should have been in there, but we could just go back and check on that.
That was my error, I think I said.
Okay. Alrighty. For the purpose of this meeting, I see a Stu coming in. Is that Stu Dresser?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just want to be sure we have the right person on for concerned citizen. Alrighty, so moving down to the chair's report. As you're aware, the opening of Grand Central Madison did not make the originally announced deadline of late December 2022 due to safety concerns raised by testing, which showed insufficient exhaust values when readings were taken. Everything else appears to be in order for opening, and we are anxiously awaiting news from the Long Island Railroad as to when exactly that will be. In fact, the reason we scheduled our January meeting here in Jamaica was hopes of being able to take a ride on the shuttle to the new station, but perhaps next month. Again, that's maybe not next month because we'll may have to have our meeting, the primary focus of the meeting in Ola, to make it easier for Larry to get there and make it easier for Brian to get there so that we can have a quorum additional meeting. Because unfortunately, with only 5 board members, things are a little tough.
Now we have a form.
Okay.
No, we don't.
No. All right, service to Grand Central Madison will begin in approximately 3 to 4 weeks of shuttle service from Jamaica before the major schedule changes and once these rides take effect. Once the new schedules have commenced, the Long Island Railroad Metro North will offer a single ticket with transfer at Grand Central Madison, leaving from stations on one railroad and arriving at a station on the other, such as riding from Hicksville to White Plains. Following up on non-diesel powered service on the Oyster Bay branch, President Cassia Rinaldi has assured me that she has staff members investigating possible options, most likely a dual electric battery powered train. However, announced at this time regarding that. Continuing to push for formal policy regarding the battery gas powered scooters on our trains, and we'll be meeting up with MTA, following up with MTA prior to next month's committee and board meetings. I've also requested a more robust campaign to encourage riders to wear masks on board during the current tridemic. Ask that the tone of the messages be strongly recommended. We are not that mask wearing be mandated. That's more of something that would come down from the state health department. The Penn Station renovation project is continuing to make progress, and Annabelle will be providing us an update later in this meeting. And then also the MPCA is pushing the MTA to create a more robust campaign to get riders on both. I think we already did that twice. My apologies. All righty, so that's pretty much it. Any questions on the chair's report?
I just had a question about the electric service for diesel. I thought that there was a feasibility study done and didn't show that there was a cost benefit for that.
They did a feasibility study for the Port Jefferson branch,
Right.
Because a lot of the elected officials out there are pushing hard for electrification, and they ran the cost of what they would have to do. I mean, just electrifying the Port Jefferson line really wouldn't have that much benefit. To really make it work, they would have to double track it like they did around Ronkonkoma Ranch. When they started crunching all the numbers to redo the stations, redo some of the bridges, the track work, the electrification of 2 lines, I think Hector said it was somewhere in the same like $2 billion or something like that. So it really wasn't. No, the point I was trying to make, originally the railroad was trying to, they had hired a company from Germany to retrofit a couple of the M7 cars so that it would work with electric and then battery powered when you got to the diesel territory. They pretty much found out it was going to take up too much space in the car. They'd have to give up too many seats to make it worthwhile. Then there was a whole thing about charging stations. How far could it go on a charge after electric territory? So they decided that that particular option wasn't feasible. I got the impression they were almost ready to let it drop, but they are doing things in other parts of the country. So what I had asked Kathy Rinaldi to do is have somebody just research some of them. Hydrogen is, the company that was actually going to work with the railroad to retrofit those M7s, they actually have hydrogen powered trains over in Germany. So, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but then again, setting trains up for hydrogen might not be that much more difficult than doing the charging stations for electric. Also in Boston, they are working on having dual mode trains that are electric, and then when they get past the electric area, they run out on battery power. So, and then there were other options. Out in California, they have a train. It's dual electric battery. California. So maybe there's an option where we could keep the existing equipment, like they have in a branch, only instead of having a dual mode electric diesel, have a dual mode electric battery. But again, it's all in the planning stages. It could be literally years away, but it's just something we want to push. We want them to stay on top of that. And then I think there's also some environmental laws that we need to deal with. I know they're like pushed way out, like 2035 or something like that, but where they want you to get rid of the diesel fleet entirely for, emissions into the air. So again, it's in the very early stages, but it's something that we're going to stay on top of. But it's very possible because they do have it in other parts of the country. It's just making it adaptable to the Long Island Railroad. And then, Oyster Bay is the shortest branch, so that would be the experimental branch, so to speak. And then if that would work, they would probably try to do something on Port Jeff and, take it from there. All right, any other questions regarding the sheriff's report?
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, just so you know, today, it was pretty funny that you said what you said. I was with the governor and the Senator Schumer at a place outside of Albany in Bethlehem that is all brand new hydrogen technology that they are supplying right now for forklifts and other electronic companies, and they're supplying Walmart and Amazon for all things of that nature. So the technology really is there. I mean, when I got a tour of the plant this morning, it was unbelievable the amount of power that hydrogen technology is producing by a company named Plug, is the company name, Plug.
Yeah.
And it's something that is real now. It's not far-fetched anymore. It's legit.
There's a company, there's a rail company in India that's using hydrogen power.
Okay.
Well, apparently these guys are supplying technology, and they're supplying operations for cars. What do you call them? High-lows, that moves the pallets around. Those machines for Walmart. Walmart has bought a ton of them. Amazon has bought over 1,000 to supply power to their cars and to their their high-lows, the jacks that go up and down. So the technology is actually there now, which is really neat.
And we already have a connection with the company. Like I said, Alstom was going to do the retrofits of those M7 cars. They're the company that has all those have the hydrogen powered engines out in Germany. So it could be a fit. So we'll stay tuned. We'll see what happens.
Jerry, this is Chris. I have my hand up. I didn't know if you guys could see it, but one question about the Oyster Bay branch. Do we have any new update regarding the switching area over there? Because I'm still seeing the trains that are going to Oyster Bay still arriving on the westbound track. Are we going to be doing anything about adjusting the switches so trains don't be, because if say an Oyster Bay train is delayed, and that means an a westbound train has to wait till that train is leaving Mineola just to go to Oyster Bay, and it's scheduled to come in.
Or the third track update somewhere.
I believe that's all part of the third track update. And Abel, do you have any information on that or?
Could you just repeat the question one more time? I want to make sure I understand it, Chris.
Okay, as you know, right now at the Oyster Bay at Mineola Station on the westbound track, you have now 2 tracks going to the Oyster Bay, but there's no switch going from the middle or the newer track. There has been no new update about that. Because normally they said there was supposed to be a switch. I know they're building an elevator. I already seen it and it looks good. But what's going on with the switching for the Oyster Bay trains? Because right now, if a train comes in at Mineola, and it's late, it's going to cause more lateness for trains that are going towards Penn Station bound as well. That means it's a lot of confusion, a lot of delays.
Get back to you on that. 'Cause I'm not sure what the plan is right now regarding that. If
And
there's,
just let you know, Nick was supposed to get back to me. I have not heard from him since November.
okay, regarding this question,
Yes.
What did you ask, Nick Fasano?
Lozano.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I'll look with him.
Thank
Text
you.
him well, no problem.
all right. Anything else before we move down to the executive director? Hey, Lisa, it's yours.
All right, thank you. The governor gave her state of the state address, Tuesday. All right, sorry, it's okay.
Yeah, it was actually Tuesday morning.
In a bunch of different states and places.
Yeah, it's Tuesday morning.
And she laid out her priorities for 2023. And they focus in many ways that they mirror ours, and those that have been discussed by the council. And hopefully we'll be able to discuss the council priorities and concerns in more depth later today. But as far as transit, she did say that she is committed to helping fund the MTA, remains committed to congestion pricing. She identified that light rail would be the mode of choice for Interborough Express, which makes sense. When you look at it, as long as it's an integrated part of the system and doesn't have an entirely separate run fare system or different what you're paying for things or fare policy.
Light rail is from
For the Interborough Express. So that I think it's going to be the first time that the MTA is running light rail. So that'll be interesting to see how that comes about. It's not going to happen tomorrow. So there is still a lot more information to come. She talked about housing as one of her spotlight priorities. And with that comes a lot of things that do not directly affect us, but I'm sure very controversial and much to talk about. Given targets for affordable housing, like particularly around TOD is a focal point of the targets that are set out in her plan. There's a $250 million pot that's laid out in her state of the state that would go toward planning implementation. And it would be great if some of that 250 million figure out how to make transit improvements in those areas as well, so that it becomes more station houses are really just like little plop down buildings that are not destinations, how to make them desirable to the surrounding areas. So this is really the opening salvo for the budget talks that commence. Budget hearings start. There's a lot of ideas, not a lot of money. Public safety is very important aspect of the governor's concerns, what were raised during the election, and will continue to be discussed at all levels of government by everybody. So for mental health, the mental health component of her agenda goes further to address some of the issues that she has laid out over the last year. But, we'll see, A, where money comes from, B, what the conversations continue to be throughout the state. There is a new assembly lead for the corporations in LIRRCC, comes from Rockland County. Branding knows in the school store. So that's good. But the homes that has been chair for a long time. And we'll be starting our communications with elected officials to start just laying out what our issues, concerns, priorities, and interests are as well. We shared with the members of the council the press statement that we put out following the governor's state. The state, it's on our website. So that's available for anybody to see. Pretty broad. Again, that was always in the details of where will the money come from. There had been a legislative package that was put forward by a number of members of the assembly. Some senators called Fix the MTA legislation. There are different component pieces of that package. And basically they're fully fund the MTA. You figure it out. So, there are some ideas on how to do that, but it's not with any level of specificity. So we know that is a battle that's coming up as well. Within that legislation includes a piece that was reintroduced and it's been taken up and moved further that would grant our members voting seats at the MTA table and also introduce a fourth voting rider representative for excessive riding. So this is further than that legislation has done before. In our conversations with the MTA, we've been told that they're agnostic about it. So just so you so you don't have to go like, oh my God. For anybody who hasn't met Liam was our new associate director. We're thrilled to have him. Yes. He started in December, and will be with us for many years to come. We've posted and are waiting resumes for our planning and advocacy manager position. I've nudged him gently today, but tomorrow it's a little more harsh. The last time I did that, I was told that the person was out with COVID, or not COVID, was out of the office. So we will, be gentle in our nudging, but assertively gentle. Yeah, so that we can
Take out the villain.
yeah, so that we can fully staff up and also look at our interns and move forward there, which is why we look forward to having a conversation about priorities and goals. Kara, would you like to talk about our social media? Unless anybody has any questions for me.
You sent Liam out to Saturday for the.
Oh, yes. So we sent Liam out on Saturday. Here, Liam, go for us. On Saturday, there was a visioning session. Steve Cohen, Uncle Steve, as we Mets fans like to call him, had a visioning session at City Field or Forever Shea, as many of us say, to look at what to make of the giant parking lot outside. And why don't you tell us about what? Let me say our goal has been and continues to be is to make that station complex accessible,
right? And
to continue to push that in every possible way. I reached out to the 7 Army, which is a complex of Mets fans that who are very vocal and very assertive, aggressive in their vocalizations. So why don't you tell us what?
So it's obviously very early on in the process. They didn't have renderings or anything like that. They just had a lot of context that they were giving of the history of the property and how far they've come. What they've listed some of the potential ideas there. Casino is one of them. Other commercial structures. Basically, it was an opportunity for the community to come in and write on Post-it notes or draw on a map and say, this would look good here. really bring in the community so that everybody feels like they're, have a seat at the table. So I came with our accessibility talking points in hand and made sure that that was well represented and distributed and written all over the maps.
So
Yeah.
who's overseeing?
The Mets,
Yeah,
Oh, this is.
Steve, I mean, seriously, Steve, come. I mean,
And so he brought in the community?
Yeah.
That's great.
he wants a casino and he wants it there. And he, and there was a real estate developer, I love this, who said, well, why would anybody want to go to Queens? Why does anybody want to go to New York to go to Queens? And someone think, somebody should tell him that's where the airport's on.
Yeah.
But,
Resorts is also.
well,
Yeah.
but, I would, gear up for a big battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also always out for parks and a lot of other recreation space.
Yeah.
And this is a man with very deep pockets and a real hankering to win. And he wants to have make a team and legacy. And what better way to do that than by ensuring that every fan that wants to get there to the games can get there.
Part of it too, part of the legislation for the 3 downstate casinos is the local community has to buy in. That's why Steve Cohen, I'm not saying he's not a nice guy and doesn't want to hear from the community, but that was a very important part of it, and I'm sure part of that was, well, build a casino, get rid of all those junkyards that are, because it's, if you ever got lost going to Citi Field, the area around it is a disaster. It's just all automotive dismantling shops. It's brutal.
That's
So,
gonna be turned into Willits Point development. So
Right.
that's 2,500 apartments and schools and
Right.
offices and a hotel. So this would just be an additional
right,
charity.
so it's definitely,
Yes,
and the mayor had his state of this.
it is
State of the
budget,
city
it's
address,
budget
right?
release today. The state of the city is the 20th.
Oh, okay.
So that's, so we're gonna continue to move forward with that. And keep that front center, top, bottom.
Okay.
And Carrie, you will give us a social media report.
Yeah, just a few quick
Thank
updates. So as to be expected, the general biggest topic on social media has been opening of Eastside Access. A lot of questions to Long Island Railroad account on Twitter about why the delay is happening. A lot of people are very excited about it. Monitoring that response. We also received an email in December from a writer more specifically concerned about the new timetables and questioning. Just making sure that the West Hempstead branch will not see service cuts. We shared that concern with Hector, who gives a good update that there will actually be more service on the West Hempstead branch with the new timetables, and we share that with that writer. And then just general questions about when the new finalized timetables will become available to the public. Because people are just wondering when they'll be able to predict their new commutes with Grand Central Madison. There's also some complaints about ongoing switch issues and repairs on Woodside, causing some stations to be bypassed on a few different instances. But it looks like the Long Island Railroad account has been good about addressing those. And then generally some issues with the app and website, mostly in late December, not showing the Elmont UBS station, even when the train is supposed to be stopping at that station. But it does look like they are working on addressing this.
Okay, any questions for Lisa or Kara? Or
I
Ian?
do. This is Chris. I have a question.
Okay.
And because I like to support with our second in command. Regarding Mets Willets Point, State Senator Jessica definitely agrees that there should be an elevator and more accessible for the Long Island Railroad and the subway there. As well as because the reason is a lot of the communities over there cannot even get over there because we have a bigger problem. Nothing to do with Long Island Railroad, has to do with the Q48 bus, if it ever shows up. And that issue has been going on for many, many years. The community in Flushing and Corona have been going completely, excuse me, upset about it. And they're like, they want an elevator like now. So we definitely am hearing this. And with this development going in, I really hope development will make it truly ADA accessible for both trains there, because for once I can get there easily and safer. And if they act and to continue more, getting people a chance to have fun at Mets Willis Point. So we can all say, let's go Mets. It's easy to get to Yankee Stadium, but it's not fair for the Mets.
Working on it.
You have on the agenda a Google Group update?
Oh, so I think that was legacy.
Oh.
Has anybody used, I don't think we've gotten any real,
Not
you
since
know.
the wayfinding exercise, and
Right.
Brian had shared some updates from that, but.
Right.
Ready? All right, so it's no other questions. We'll go down to Annabella is pinch hitting for Hector today. Just give us a recap, a couple of things like whether ridership and station update, et cetera.
when are we gonna be able to provide?
I wish I was here to say when, that would be incredible. But first, I'll introduce myself really quickly for those who don't know who I am. My name is Annabelle Frias. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Government and Community Relations here at the Long Island Railroad. I'm covering for Hector today. So firstly, for ridership update, we are relatively at the same place with ridership, between 60 to 70% of pre-pandemic ridership depending on days. We noticed that our biggest ridership days are during the office weekdays, particularly during between Tuesday and Thursday. Mondays are actually much lower than Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday are as well a little bit lower. Our weekends are much higher. So we're seeing a upward trend. Hopefully that continues.
When you say weekends are higher than weekends in the past or higher than midweek?
Higher than midweek, so still lower than pre-pandemic time, but higher than weekdays. A lot of people are using trains during off-peak hours. But we've actually noticed something today for this week. This is the first week we're really back to work since the holidays. And we noticed a large increase in peak hour travel. So we noticed that we monitor our top 50 daily trains. We noticed that most of those trains are actually peak trains, and fewer are off peak, which was not the case before the holiday. So that was interesting. We're going to keep monitoring. That's a good indication for us. It kind of shows, it appears that people are going back to the office. So we'll keep monitoring that. And then for Penn Station, firstly, we want to thank everyone for their patience during construction. Phase 1 was completed in 2020, and now phase 2 will reach substantial completion by March of 2023. So it's been a long period, but we're almost at finish line. So over the past few months, at state compensation concourse, we've seen it fail, we've seen it get larger and bigger and more beautiful, which impacts me. So nearly all of the public areas completed. A lot of the work that is left is the back of house work. We see that the concourse is brighter, feels larger in circulation. So we're happy about that.
And storage.
The stores, so once we reach substantial completion, we'll see more stores open. So right now we're still working on back of house. And then it's that our LED lighting actually above, it's working as of now, but we are reaching a point where now we'll see the colored LED lighting for all different settings. There are about, I believe, like 7 settings for the LED lighting. So we'll see that pretty soon, within the next month or two. I'm pretty excited about that as well. Then we have our new entrance at Penn Station on 33rd between 7th and 8th Avenue, closer to 7th Avenue. That should be completed sometime between kind of this month and February. There we'll have a new elevator entrance where you can access the Long Island Railroad concourse and the subway. So in addition to our elevator on 34, we also have that option. There are also stairways, which you can take to reach the subway, but you cannot take to reach the Long Island Railroad concourse. So that's something that I wanted to know in case anybody takes the stairs and is expecting to take the railroad. You'd either have to take the elevator there or one of the other entrances. And then we also have a new artwork installation at that entrance that we will see once it is open. And then moving on to Grand Central Madison, the update. Same as prior, latest news is that the system testing is still ongoing and the opening date will be provided once the testing is completed. I do not, unfortunately, not anything that, you know, is concrete right now. Day by day, our crews are working, you know, every single day on this. So hopefully we'll have something shipped very soon. The idea is still to open with shuttle service. And then once we have a date, we'll actually release the full final schedule. So everyone will know when.
Can you explain what that means, open the shuttle service?
So we'll be running trains into Grand Central Madison in the off hours, so additional trains. We won't be changing our full schedule. Initially, we'll just open with those additional trains so people can still go into the station, see and know where they're going. And then a few weeks after that, we'll switch into our full service plan. And the reason.
Ron is saying that we can't hear you sometimes. I don't know where the microphone is.
yeah.
But also if the if the Grand Central Madison problems are limited to the fan issue.
Yes, that is essentially the only issue that is preventing us from opening customer facing. It is practically completed, everything's ready to go. The only issue that we are having is with the exhaust fans. And that obviously goes into other issues when it comes to testing. If we can't complete that testing, we can't complete the other testing down the line. So that is really what's holding us back at the moment. So again, hopefully we have a resolution soon. I'm very optimistic, but don't want to prematurely share a date and
Sure.
I really don't, but
Darren was very careful about not releasing any, he was playing it very close to the vest when he made his conversations yesterday, so.
once we know, we'll share immediately. We're also very anxious to open as well, so.
Or check the app every day to see if there's if there are trains between Grand Central and Penn Station.
Yeah,
Figured that they'll show up one day.
I mean, we'll do press release, we'll notify everyone on Twitter, we'll do the whole nine, so.
You're there.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the third track update, Chris, I will get back to you tomorrow on that. I did text Nick, but I forget that he has a prior engagement, so we'll
No
give you that information.
If you could let us know, just send us an email, that would be great.
Perfect, sounds good. So.
Yeah, I think there's also a switch that they were gonna change by the Elmont station as well.
I'll add that to my list too. Follow-ups. Oh, yes, I follow up, actually, get text when I'm done.
I think if it's the switch they have in place now, they have to go at reduced speeds to go past it, and they're gonna get a better, a new and improved faster switch, so.
Great news. So I'll just go down the line of the highlight of work that we're gonna be doing this month at each station. So I'll start with Laurel Park, and this is all information that's on the site as well. That's just the highlights. At Laurel Park, crews are installing emergency and maintenance access doors and stairs east of Greenfield Avenue. This month at New Hyde Park, we will be starting paving. They will be starting paving on Stewart Avenue, 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and 4th Avenue, weather permitting, of course. At Garden City and Garden City Park, continuing snow melt installation, handrail installation, and painting. And we have mini OLA in the pedestrian overpass, installation of stairs, elevators, and facade are continuing. Installation of sidewalk curb and pavers are also ongoing, as well as the installation of conduit, like fixtures, signage spans, and wire pulling.
Can you send us that list?
Yeah. Actually, I'll send you guys the full update, which has
Terrific.
other details. Yeah.
Did you say snow melt?
Mhm.
Okay, so they're actually gonna have snow melt on the
Yeah,
platforms?
yes.
Okay,
Okay, and then at Carl Place, Stonehenge Lane and roundabout enhancements will be completed in January. And ongoing installation of snow melt. And at Westbury, both pedestrian overpasses, elevator, and the elevator are now installed. And additional elevator work, signage, stairs, and rail will continue. That's an update there. And then this wasn't part of the agenda, but I did want to note that we awarded a contract for the ADA safety improvement project, the first package in December. We just had our kickoff meeting actually this week. We are going to be making 7 stations accessible, and 2 stations will be receiving either replacement. They will be receiving elevators and escalators. The 7 stations that will be made accessible are Amityville, Copay, Lindenhurst, Massapequa Park, St. Albans, Locust Manor, and Laurelton. And then the ones that will be receiving the replacement elevators and escalators are Auburndale and Valley Street.
You just slide in Maxwell's Point.
Karen will be happy. Well, overall, our goal is to make all of our stations ADA accessible by the end of our 2025 to 2029 capital plan. So that is the goal. Hopefully that is what happens, but this is moving along. Again, our contract is awarded. We'll have a better idea. The scheduling will be by the end of February, I want to say. We just got the team together, so we're working on that. So that's it for my updates. I will questions anybody may have.
Any questions? Larry, Ryan, you have any questions? Are you good? Chris?
I'm just wondering if she has any information about those signs at Belmore and all that I brought up, but she may not. I don't know. Hector talked to her about it.
I do not, but I think Hector mentioned it, so I will follow up with him on that.
Yeah, what Larry was talking about was especially during the winter months, people tend to congregate like at the base of the escalators under some protection if it's snowing. And they used to have the board to let you know when the train was coming in right there. Someone decided it would be a better idea if they took the signage and put it so it's out facing the parking lot. So it's nice that everybody driving by on the Sunrise Highway can see when the next train's coming in, but it doesn't affect the actual riders who are standing there huddled under the escalator, waiting to hear when the train's gonna be there. So it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's exactly what they did in that particular case. So, we're hoping to get signage restored. If you want to leave the one facing the parking lot there, that's great. But really, the one that the riders want, that's what we're looking to get.
And the interesting thing about that, Jerry, is that there's some wires that suddenly appeared there the other day.
Well, that might be the wires from the old sign.
No, I think they cut them all out. These look like new stuff. To my eye, it looked like it was new.
Oh,
So they might be in the works installation, but I'll follow up to see if that is what's happening.
that would be really appreciated. That's,
Works. This is a picture.
yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, yes, I will.
Yeah.
And it was correct before.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It just shows, this is the picture Larry sent that shows the sign facing outwards, right? So which is great, but not if you're waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one thing I wanted to add that I had forgotten to raise about, that the governor mentioned in her state of the state, which was about city ticket. Which is something, city ticket, came out of PCAC, was a recommendation in 2003, it was implemented by the MTA in 2004. It initially started on weekends in city zones as a flat fare price, and then was started last year, I think, as a pilot program off peak within the city. As part of the mayor and governor's new New York panel recommendation was going to every 24/7. And that, the governor mentioned that, or state of the state as well too, so. That would be within the city, as a $5 flat fare anytime. I used it to get here, because you can buy it on the app.
Okay. And so I'd imagine it's something that will be implemented rather quickly.
It's, yes, although I think it just needs to be fun. But, that. we
Maybe
can-
not so quick.
Yeah. It could be, I mean, I think we'll probably find out more at the next board meeting.
Yeah. I know they usually respond pretty quickly to the governor's request, so.
If I could really quickly, that reminded me of, and you, if you guys have spoken about this, I've asked you before, the combo ticket. Okay, just wanted to be sure now that Grand Central has been open.
No, he did,
Yeah, I'll do it.
because basically our understanding was if you bought a regular ticket, you can make a combo ticket for an additional $8 or
Yes.
something. So in other words, you'd have your regular ticket from Hicksville to Grand Central Terminal, and then for another $8, you can go anywhere on Metro North.
Yes,
I mean, and if you're going all the way up to say New Haven, that's a great deal. It's a fabulous deal.
And your first ticket would be off peak if you just bought it as a one.
The only problem that I had with, and not with that per se, but I had asked about, well, what happens if someone already has a monthly? You know, can they just pay the $8? Can they just go into Grand Central, pay the $8 and go anywhere else in the system? And they said, that's not in the cards yet.
That's an omni,
Yeah.
that's an omni question, probably.
Yeah. So I mean, that might be something we might pursue down the road, but for right now, even, we'll take what we can get for right now. It's still a good deal, the $8, plus your regular ticket. Because you can go pretty far in Metro North. I mean, you can go Poughkeepsie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you go to Poughkeepsie, New Haven, that's a lot of miles.
Does it include the Connecticut? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
one day you can go to New Haven.
You can also go, guys, they are working on the reduced fare one. You can only go to New London with it. Right now, it's only good for the full fare. So there's Metro North and I have been working on fixing the reduced fare price. And forgive me, my camera's acting up. It's been screwing up a lot. But they've been, I've been working with Metro North 88 Task Force because they didn't even thought of that until I brought it up. If you have a full fare, why you don't have a reduced fare?
We
You can do that in New London, but you can't do it at going there to New London.
We met with the MDA to talk about implementation of senior and half price tickets in the peak hours, because right now it's only in peak.
Going home. in
I'm
the
going
afternoon,
home, not
coming
in the peak
it's-
morning. And it's only federally mandated to be made available in off-peak hours. So it's being funded in peak hours from the city. I think. Right, or so we're expecting information back on how much it would cost. Who pays for it now, because I don't think the city is paying for it on Long Island Borough, so who's paying for it? How much and how we can find people to help with that bill.
Which I don't think is be a very heavy lift. I mean, a very financial strain. I don't think it's a lot.
Right, but we don't know because we don't have,
Yeah.
so but the MTA might. So we're not asking you. We've asked their fair policy people to let us know, we'll follow up.
All right, before we let Annabelle go, any
Ron
Ron?
Troy,
Okay, regarding, let's say I'm going from my station east of Huntington and I was going to say White Plains. How would I actually get the quote unquote through ticket for my trip? One, if I was doing it once. Two, if I were doing it, say on a weekly, monthly, or 20 ride ticket and so on.
So if you're purchasing the ticket on the app, there'll be an option for the combo ticket. So you can either, there are a couple different ways you can either put in your destination that you're originating in and where you're going to go. And if it's between the railroads, the option for a combo ticket will appear. Now, let's say for whatever reason, buying 2 separate tickets is cheaper than the combo ticket, then that point you buy 2. I mean, you can buy the combo ticket if you like, but you can buy 2 separate tickets and travel that way. But the option will appear, and the same will happen if you're using a kiosk at one of the ticket machines. That option will appear if you put the destination that you're originating in and where you're going to, and if it's using both railroads, you can select the combo ticket.
Okay, so let's say I'm at my East Northport station and I go to the daily or other ticket machine and I want to go to White Plains. Now, normally, obviously, traditionally, it's only shown me Long Island Railroad destinations, but would it then have a way for me to choose White Plains or somewhere else on Metro North as the destination instead? Or would I have to pick, say, Grand Central or Madison or Zone 1 and then pick combo ticket and then, somehow be offered that?
The new ticket machines have the option. The older ones, I'm not exactly sure. You might have to select you're going to Zone 1 or Grand Central Madison. Then
But probably use the alphabet, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's like, if your station isn't listed, you can spell it out like you do now.
you can also do that. But
Okay, so theoretically, if I went to, let's say we had the old machines, if I put in W or WH, it ought to offer White Plains as a destination.
it should, and I'll confirm with our fair department, but
They haven't
Okay.
programmed the machines yet, or they have, or if they have, they've hidden it, because I think we got one screenshot of one that somebody said, it's out, and then it went.
not yet. I mean, we
Yeah,
can't
right.
program them until
Right.
Central Medicine opens. So
Right.
right now you can't do that, of course. But once the
Right. No, I get that.
it should.
And you mentioned new ticket machines, something I've listened to a lot of these calls, but I've never heard of them before.
There's actually, I mean, same machines but newer system at Grand Central Madison. You'll see those same machines. So there's just
Oh, okay, but not
they're
out
not
here.
faster, yeah. But it's the same sort of user interface.
Hopefully a little more flexible. And let's say you are eligible, like I'm, shall we say, past 65, and I have disabilities. How is that going to work? Well, I guess that was sort of asked how that will work with the combo fare, but in general, with the Long Island Railroad fares, how is that supposed to work? I mean, I've done it a couple times, but apparently it's only in the afternoon, or it's incredibly confusing, especially when you go to the machines in our stations trying to buy a fare for someone disabled into Manhattan, say morning peak.
You can't.
Okay. Everything about the machines creates great confusion on this.
Well, you can't buy a peak half fare disabled
In the morning.
in the mornings at all.
Just on the way
Okay.
out.
Just on off peak and I think you only do that on the train. I don't think you can do that from a machine.
If you do it on the
does work. It does work. This is Chris. It did work because when I do the reduced fare price going from Atlantic to Jamaica, the day I was going to ADA task force meeting, it did work going eastbound and going east. It doesn't work when it goes westbound. That was the one thing I mentioned to Hector a year ago.
Doesn't work on West because you're just not eligible, but you can do it on your phone and on the machines.
Yeah. It's just that I just think it's forgive me my camera acting up again, but last time I did use that during that morning, it did work. And I wasn't the only one. There were 3 other people who used Long Island Kids did get the reduced fare price, and they were going out to Hicksville that time. And they got the half fare.
Okay, so if you're going past peak, it's not an issue. And if you're going in the afternoon, it's not an issue.
Right.
But except for the fact that when you get on the machines during an eligible time period, or you're just buying the tickets for an eligible time period, it is incredibly confusing. The path, the navigation through the system to get the tickets that are actually usable is very confusing. It usually takes us about 10 or 15 minutes every time just to buy one ticket.
It has been pointed out by others as well, that is the case, that there are layers upon layers.
Yeah,
One day, this is gonna go away.
because I've just been dead-ended so many times and started again. And if you get lucky, you get through it.
Yeah, but one day they'll be gone. Or there'll be a whole new system. And
Yeah.
we'll either miss them or just never miss them.
Oh, and I still don't trust using the phone for tickets because I won't buy it before I know the train is arriving. And when I know the train is arriving, it's too late.
Yeah, but you can always buy it and if you decide not to go, use it at another time.
Yeah, you
But not if you've activated it.
Well, you should never activate it before you're on the train.
But they tell you got to activate it before you board the train.
Really? I usually activate it on the train.
I activated when I step
Yeah,
on.
it's very naughty. So it's a real dilemma because I will not activate a ticket before I'm on the train because I don't know if the train's going to show up. So I've said it, and you've heard it.
Ron, this is Chris. Just to let you know, if you're in the terminal and you know once you're downstairs on that train, and you know once the train's ready to leave, they want you to activate it right there before you go into the tunnel, because then your phone signal's not going to work. But they don't want you to activate it until the train arrives into the station. And that has been announced. I know Hector said it. I know Anna, I know Anna said it at one of the meetings one of the events I've been to. Sorry, I'm in events. But it is good, but you know that's going to change soon as when Omni comes in.
Well, have you ever been on the East Northport platform,
Yes.
the single platform?
Yes.
And let's say it's the 618 or whatever it changes to, is, I should say 620, 25, is pulling in. And all of a sudden, you've got hundreds of people all shoving for the doors, even before it's fully pulled in. And then it's not safe to have your phone out. So that's the problem.
Well, so noted.
Thank you.
Anything else before we go down to old business? All right, do we have any old business we need to bring up, Lisa?
Not that, do we?
No, okay, I think we're okay. All right, so we'll move down to new business.
Well, I would say after the old business would be, we distributed at PCAC a list of operating cost, operating revenue ideas and thoughts and ask for input. So happy to redistribute that to our members and ask for your thoughts, but I've heard from two people.
Okay,
So we could also just take that as your tacit approval for everything.
all right, so then I guess the big new business item is just basically discuss what our goals or potential projects would be for 2023.
We shared a list again.
Well,
but
that's the
this is-
piece, that's the PCA.
Yeah, this is the PCAC, but we absolutely want to hear what you all want us to look at and what you'd like us to do. And we're getting more fuller.
Well, I think a priority, well, a couple of priorities. One, actually, it probably should have been under old businesses. Getting us up to speed. Ryan was nice enough to give us a contact at Nassau County, because Nassau County's been kind of ignoring us in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as getting membership there, because I think we need, 3 members from Nassau, right?
Yes.
We need 3 from that. We need 2 members from Suffolk.
We need 2 members from Suffolk, or one of our members from Suffolk hasn't been to a meeting in 4 months.
Yeah, so you can track him down, missing in action. And then, of course, Queens and Brooklyn.
Yes.
I think Brooklyn's always been problematic, to get anybody. Queens,
So noted.
So the, the interesting vagary of the LIRRCC, but authorizing legislation is that for every vacancy, you need to submit 3 names. So, possibly we could look into, as we're looking into legislative priorities, we can look into changing.
Lisa, does that mean only one of the 3 can be chosen, or obviously if there's 3 put forward and 1 is chosen, can those other 2 roll over to be candidates for one of the other vacancies?
We have, need 9 names. So, they can be.
So they can't reuse the 2 names from the first
You can,
grouping.
and say, okay, so here are
Here's
we have
3, you
3
chose 1.
three
Okay, I'm gonna
vacancies.
use those 2
here's
again.
the 3 that we would like for one of the vacancies. Choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. And then here's who we'd like to use for the other vacancy, choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, and then for the third one. And then sort of rank in priority of where you'd like to have them. And then you've got 6 in the back burner for another time.
I was
And then-
thinking- I mean, my question was, can you use the 2 that are passed up for the first vacancy as candidates for the second vacancy?
I think the only way you could do that is you would have to.
Wait for the process to finish with 1 candidate before you.
Have
move
to-
on.
Yeah, you'd have to say, we're gonna send 1 name up. Oh, one position up, here's our 3 candidates. Then, once the process finishes and they say, okay,
Right.
you picked number A, then you can, all right. Then once that's finished, then you can say, okay, oh, by the way, we have another vacancy. And then you can send B and C's names
Right.
back along with D, But if
Because
you want
9
to write
candidates, I
all
mean,
vacancies at
that-
once, then you gotta send 9 names up.
Yeah.
That's-
From what we've seen.
I don't know
yeah,
if you're gonna get 9 names.
No, that's.
Yeah.
That's the
I know,
problem.
that's been the
How do you
problem.
get,
Well,
Have
we
we
can
gotten enough names for
put
each
out
county?
there. I'm sorry, Larry?
Now, have we gotten enough names for each county submitted or not yet?
We have old names,
Oh, okay.
that we shared,
so the names have to come from the county.
the names
Right,
come
the county-
from
the
the
county sends them
elected,
up.
from the elected official, from the recommending elected official go up to the governor's office.
And which is it?
It's from Nassau County, Suffolk County,
Right.
and then in the Metro North Territory, it's local elected official makes the recommendation to the governor's office. So it's not the same level of specificity. In New York City, you've got the mayor has 5, the public advocate has 5, the borough president has 1.
Maybe one of the things we should try and do is see if they could tweak the legislation so that we're, just basically let the county executives make their recommendations.
Well, make 1 instead of.
Yeah,
having
you're right. Yeah,
three.
just say, what county executive sends up, I have 3 positions open, here are my 3 candidates.
Yes,
You know,
and initially, when the council was first formed, they had to send up 10 names for each vacancy. And they tried to make us do that again, and we said no, no. One lawyer on,
Yeah.
but we read it very carefully, and it was 3, but 3 is very cumbersome. So, we can, certainly look through the files. I had gone through and looked at them. So the candidates.
How often can those rules be changed, and who changes those rules?
They're changed by the legislature,
State
and they can
legislature.
they can be changed whenever they have a hankering to do so. I'm sorry, I just read a Western. Whenever
Can we
they're,
make the suggestion they do because of the difficulty in filling roles based on those requirements.
Yes, it would be a very good ask of us to make of the Long Island elected Long Island delegation, certainly. And we do plan to meet, to make meetings and prioritize our meetings. To do that, to
And just to add for the Brooklyn Borough president, it is not going to be easy because they don't have enough staff right now to try to point people. They're lucky I exist right now, but I try to explain to them, and I know I mentioned this to Lisa as well as everyone, that I had to tell them that you need to meet with PCAC, you need to meet with Lisa's team to appoint someone for Long Island Railroad Community Council. And it felt like I was talking to the walls with them, with digital walls.
we've been in contact with them. The issue is, the mayor has had vacancies for over a year. The last mayor had vacancies for his entire term. So the reasons that it would be so helpful for us to have voting seats on the board is to really highlight why they want to have members on this council. I mean, they should want to anyway, but that makes it even more of a priority.
Then the other thing that I think is a priority, but Lisa's already very much working on it, is bringing our staff up to, our full allocated number. Which is easier said than done dealing with the MTA, HR department, but
Who also doesn't have enough staff.
yeah. Everybody's short-staffed. All right, Lisa, you just want to go through the list and pick out the ones that are Long Island Railroad applicable?
Sure, well, I think their operating funding is a priority, making sure that there's enough funding to operate the system. That there's dedicated, that it doesn't necessarily tie to fair hikes on a fair hikes are a conversation we will have. I don't think we need to go into that at the level that it will get into.
Yeah.
But so operating funding as part of the budget as a baseline of off budget amount. Council signs at railroad stations, that's something that we need to put up, that we need to sign.
Yeah, see, they don't have the signs, or the signs are, say, we're still at 347 Madison.
Right, and to clarify how people can get in touch with us. Clarifying bike ped legislation, bicycle pedestrian, the MTA released their legislation, their plan yesterday. And we were at the release. They represent us. And Kara, yes. And we still don't have any clarity on how members are appointed or recommended for Long Island Railroad Community Council or Metro North Railroad.
Well, actually, just a suggestion, since we had already talked about changing it so that we don't have to send 3 names up for each position on the council. Since they're going to have to clarify this, because if they don't clarify this, they won't have a bike member from Nassau, from Long Island, because they don't have anybody to appoint the person. And the same thing, they won't have a bike member for Metro North.
Right.
Because who gets to make the appointment? It's not in the legislation, so nobody can make those appointments. So it's like the only bike person is going to be from the city, because I think that goes to the mayor, right? The mayor
Yeah, but the mayor is otherwise
yeah. So
if it was maybe a rat member.
She's part.
yeah.
Right, setting up meetings with elected officials, and this is where we can certainly use your help in with any relationships that any of you have.
I have,
Super. Why don't you apply to become a member?
I don't know.
I don't know why not, we'll talk. Accessibility, and that's Holt's point, obviously, that's something we've talked about. The transit housing connection, which is what we've talked about as part of the state of the state. But it's also something that we've had our eye on, because affordable housing is only affordable if you can afford to get on the transit. So ensuring that there's investment in transit and And that it is the option that people want to choose. So looking at ways that we can work both, it's more within the city, but outside as well. So work for transit near new developments, which is sort of now more merged because of state fare policy. Student commuter passes as something that has been looked at previously. Looking at it sort of as an overarching review, including the senior and half fare, just fares in the morning.
No, Mark had actually started something on that with a couple of the colleges. They were actually trying to see if we get a college to be like a
Right, there's
some
some,
type of it.
there's some relationships like that, but not a lot.
Yeah.
I feel love,
You-
and they really would love the discount.
Or bulk passes or some way to.
But I don't
do
think
that.
they get any discount. Well,
I don't know, but that's certainly something.
I mean, with group, unless if they're all going at the same time, then they
Right.
get a discount, but as an individual going from home to school.
No, but I think like what Mark was looking at is you have a 18-year-old student who's out by me in Patchogue and they're going to FIT. It's the convenient to, it's a heavy lift for them to have to spend $400 and something for their monthly ticket, maybe because they're a student getting great. Those are the kind of things, we're looking for. And I know it might even help school. Like we have quite a few kids. It's surprising how many kids commute to Chaminade on the railroad. Yeah, so I mean, you might even be able to get some more of those kids doing that.
You start getting them out there using the railroad.
Exactly, well, that's the whole thing. You want to get them early, to get it, to have it using the railroad. So it's. But it was something that just never gained any traction.
I think Phil started a relationship with one school.
He was really close with Farmingdale,
Yeah.
and I'm there all the time. And I have relationships with all the colleges because I'm on campus trying to promote local transit all the time.
They have arrangements where the university will estimate how many students are using transit and they'll buy all of those passes at once at the beginning of the year, and they'll get that at a deep discount from the transit agency. And that's how
One of the
they-
schools did that
the-
once.
fares it will be free from the student perspective, but it's paid for in a lot of ways, like through parking fees on campus or like the student general fee that
Do you know if any of
everybody has to
this-
pay.
that the colleges are doing?
Every college in Rhode Island where I'm from does that. So your student ID is also a unlimited bus pass. All the UCLA and UC Berkeley.
And
they all
nothing
do
on
that.
the land.
Nothing in New York. I actually tried to start this program at Rutgers and they were they told us that you have the 5%
So
discount.
you
and
go
that's
to any
enough.
college the college parking, it's a quote.
Yeah, it's tough to do in a commuter railroad, but if it's a bus system, then or New York City Transit probably would.
I don't know
Bus and
if
subway.
they're charging.
Yeah, it's usually very affordable.
I mean, that's up to when I was writing as part of the Fare Evasion Task Force.
Mhm.
There were a lot of students can't afford to ride, so. It would
Yeah.
make sense to offer them a discount so that would at least be part of their tuition.
Right.
And then they're not, you get something
Mhm.
instead of nothing.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I've been pushing
Yeah.
on the task force of Fare, which is coming out.
Okay, let's move down a little bit.
Yeah. Proposing and supporting increasing synergies between the railroads to enhance technology, promote savings and improve rider experience, while watching out for operational efficiencies, which we saw didn't work very well with transformation. Looking at things like first mile, last mile, bus redesigns in the counties and how they can interact with the rails. Looking at the e-bike, e-scooter policy. Next steps for resiliency, battery and hydrogen engines. And
This is on for 2023.
yeah, it gets more. Oh, there's more. These are, these are things that we are just have off the top of our list. So, but this is, what we came up with. So when you hear what.
Well, like Larry or Brian have anything, that you think we may have missed or something? I mean, we're definitely working on the e-bike scooter policy. That's, I keep bugging Pat Warren about it every month when I see him. I don't know why it's taking so long to get that out. Supposedly the lawyers are reviewing it,
I thought we would have been further along because.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm just.
I've been bringing it up for nearly a year and
Oh.
I think it was a few months ago, they said that they had something drafted. So at least if we could get a preview of whatever they drafted.
It is amazing how long it is taking to get something that's somewhat simple, I would think, taken care of.
Yeah.
What did Janice say?
He was asked by a reporter yesterday about the policy and he said that it's be finalized.
He said no charging and no,
Yeah.
did he say no riding? Because when I was in Penn Station, I almost got knocked over twice.
Well, that's supposedly already in. You're not supposed to ride in the station. That's already in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They've been doing that for like already 2 or 3 years already, because there are times I'm down
But
there. One time going on the Cannonball, I almost got run over. Even my mother almost got run over. And I'm like, enough is enough.
Enforcement isn't
The
what.
longer we wait for something to be implemented, the more risk, we're incurring between now and then. And I know in the news, they've been covering about just bikes being used throughout the city and it becoming too dangerous, people going the wrong way in the bike paths and things like that. And I was trying to think of is there a correlation between what we're doing and they're doing? Like we're encouraging people to bring, whether it's bikes or scooters or, a secondary device. But then the city, there's a lot of people complaining that there's too much use of it and the people that are using it aren't obeying the bicycle laws that are throughout the city or even courtesy using it. So we're encouraging them to bring their bikes and use their bikes, but then people in the city are complaining on how they're using them.
And the other thing is, which I saw for the first time the other day, somebody was actually charging their bike on the train, plugged into the.
That's not supposed to
That's
be.
definitely a no.
Yeah, well, I thought, well, is that, I don't know if that's in the written law now, but he charged it and the conductor didn't say a thing, went right by.
No, I see it all every time I ride the train. I see it. And
Oh, that's the first time for
at
me.
least if it's a decal that they could put on the outlet or something, do not plug e-bikes or
So there's when I ride the subway, there and I see something, I say something. There's a WhatsApp number that I use but alert. I'll send on to them. So it would be helpful to have something similar for Long Island Railroad, Metro North, in those cases.
at least there's Metro North experiencing it as much, or is it a topic that they're
Yes. Oh, yes.
vocal about as us? And
Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah, definitely. And they're somewhat different opinions, like let them ride. I'd rather let them ride on the train with these things instead of being late. Because at one point the PD came on and escorted someone off, but that's because they were being belligerent and refused to unplug or uncharge or follow the rail. So it's a big issue. And New York City Transit Riders Council is awesome.
no one's charging one in the car I'm in right now.
Didn't something just happen at one of the airports that a plane actually had to return because they had a fire in a cargo hold?
Phone
Something like
charger.
that?
Phone charger.
Oh, it's a phone charger. Okay, I just remembered hearing it. I didn't pick the details.
The train I was on coming out here was so crowded that there was no room for scooters, no room for bikes, no room for seats. Standing room only.
You guys, here's one thing, I hope we can add something into the plan also, because it's been working a little bit, but it needs to be brought in too. Two things, updated signages on the railroad. Because there are some stations, signages are failing away a lot on the railroads. And since Jamaica has those humongous signs, and I know I hear in the background lightning, because I just saw it from here too. There is some stations that signages, you can barely see it. And sometimes it's small, or it's already, it disappears. And
If you see any, you should let us know what stations.
I actually did this, Lisa. It's not been fixed still. It's still been already. Now we're celebrating the 2-year anniversary as of tomorrow. What was that?
Know what station, so you can stay on top of it,
Yeah, I'll resend the email again, because I think I have it in the file. I have to look for it, and I'll send it again. But also, on second one, and it's been working so far as we're adding, updating stations. The accessibility button that we have been using for letting the crews know when they see a wheelchair walker or a person with any kind of disability or senior. Can we still continue proposing more at other stations as more stations are getting accessible? Because there's some who are already ADA accessible, don't have it. And I hope we can focus on more in the Suffolk County area as well, because there's very little in Suffolk County.
Yeah, but including adding additional help point buttons as we talk about exploring extended accessibility improvements and upgrades across the system.
Yeah.
All right, what a good starting point that might be. I'm putting you on the spot, but no, now we're gonna be putting elevators in Amityville, Lindenhurst, Copeg. Okay, so we're gonna give them the capacity for the handicap to use those stations. They should include that, or try and work that in when you're putting in the elevators, put in those buttons, as a start. I mean, then obviously, go pick up the stations that maybe already have an elevator that don't, that don't have those buttons.
Gary, just let you know, I'm sorry, just let you know they are been, when they do build the elevator, they do add that in. The only problem is now with the stations that already have the ADA already, like the ramp or an elevator, that's where they don't have. And it's really more in Suffolk County, not in the electric line, it's more in the diesel turf.
Okay,
So if we can we also bring that to attention to the diesel area? Because there's a lot of people during the summer do go out to, the beautiful weathers and go see those beautiful events.
But Chris, if there's any specific stations.
Yeah,
if you
please
could
let us
just
know.
if you
I'm
could
gonna,
just.
as I said before, I am going to be sending you the station.
Okay.
I'll send you the list and everything. But right
Okay.
now,
Yes,
I'm just bringing this up now because since it's on the agenda, I realized I forgot to send it, so it's been a little hectic today.
Okay,
So I do apologize on that. But I thought this would be a good idea to bring a storm up. Well, sorry, there's a storm outside. A storm up to maybe really get the railroads up to date.
okay, thank you.
alrighty, definitely. Lisa, there's just something in the chat. Can you just check what that is?
That's Ron saying Happy New Year.
Oh, I'm gonna say happy New Year. Okay. All right, so that should wrap that up. Make a motion to adjourn, but we don't have a quorum, so you don't have to do that. Obviously, if you think of anything, half an hour from now or tomorrow, like, oh, I should have brought this up at the meeting. Just shoot an email to, to me and Lisa, and we'll add it to the list.
Yes.
All righty, so
Oh, there's the rain.
the rain's starting to come down and everybody's starting to check their phones for when the
Yes,
next.
it's
storm out of
raining and there's
touch is.
lightning in the area. There's lightning in the area, so I am not gonna lie. If you saw lightning a few minutes ago, that was from my window.
Okay.
Well, you can't tell with the third rail when they hit a spark. You don't know whether it's lightning or just a train going by.
Well, then I'll make a motion to unadjourn unofficially, I guess.
All right, so we're unofficially adjourned at our unofficial meeting.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Get home safe, everyone, and try to